Today's lesson is on sales tax, tips, and markup. It's lesson 6 on page 151. So if you can please open your book to that page and follow along with me. Alonzo plans to buy a new kayak that costs $2,100. But when he buys the kayak, it actually costs more because he lives in a country where there is a 7% sales tax. So we're going to talk about sales tax, and the idea of sales tax is that it really is what's called a markup. It's something that we add on top of a price. So when we go to buy something for $2,100, our total bill does not come out to be $2,100. We have to add a certain amount, and that certain amount is tax. Well, in this country, the tax is 7%. So what we have to do is we have to figure out what is 7% of 2,100. And from last lesson we learned that to find 7% of something, we just change the percent to a decimal and then multiply. So when you do that, 2,100 times 0.07 comes out to be $147. So since this tax is added on to our price, we have to add the sales tax onto our price to get our total of $2,247. Okay. Now, there's an easier way to do this. If you can please take your calculators right now and take $2,100 and multiply it by 1.07. Pause the video and get this done on your calculator, and then you can start it. When you multiply 2,100 times 1.07, notice that you got the exact same answer as we did up here. Now, why did that happen? Well, I want you to think about, what does 1.07 represent as a percent? So if we move the decimal 2 places, isn't that really 107% of 2,100? And I want you to think about what we did yesterday. Isn't 107%, isn't that taking 100% of the price and adding 7% of the price? Because 100 plus 7 is 107%. So we talked about this yesterday. 100% of something is that whole amount, and 7% of 2,100 came out to be 147, and that's why we got the exact same answer. So the key is, whenever we're going to do a markup, something that's added onto the price, we are going to add a 1 in front of the percent and multiply not by 7% but by 107%. And that's going to allow us to keep the original 2,100 and then add on that extra 7. So please turn the page. And on page 152, let's go to Got It question A at the bottom. It says, what is the total cost of a sweatshirt if the regular price is $42? And the sales tax is 5.5%. Well, the first thing we need to do is think about 5.5 as 5.5%. So when you turn that to a decimal, isn't that going to become 0.055? So we have to find out 5.5% of 42, then we have to add it to 42. In other words, we need to multiply and figure out what's 105.5%. So we turn it to a decimal, and then we put a 1 in front of it to represent 105.5%. And when you multiply that out, you should get $44.31. Please take a minute to make sure that this work is given or is put into your book in the margins on page 152 so that you can have something to reference back to. Now follow with me at the bottom of page 152. Talks about a couple of other markups. Tax is one markup, something we add to a price, but tip or gratuity is also an amount of money that we give to somebody for service, so usually a waitress or a waiter. So the total price is the regular price of the service plus the tip. Okay, so in most states, 15% tip is about standard. People will tip 20% if it's really good service. So if you have a bill and you want to add 15% to it, you would take your bill, and if you want to add 15%, you're going to multiply by 1.15 to get your total. That will give you your bill amount plus your tip amount all combined into one. So make sure you have these notes. Okay, so if you turn the page, can you look at the bottom of page 153? We're going to try these two problems. Scott wants to tip his taxi cab driver 20%. If his commute costs $15, what is the total cost? So we have $15, but now we want to add a 20% tip. So that our total is really going to be 120%. So we're going to multiply by this. Make sure you have this work shown and go ahead and get your answer. Got it? Question C. Find the total cost of a spa treatment that's $42. But this time we're going to include a 6% tax and a 20% tip. Now, some people calculate the tip on just the total cost. Other people do it all together in one step. So we're going to think about it this. If we want to add 6% plus 20%, doesn't that come out to be 26% that we're going to be adding on? So to add on 26%, we need to add, or we need to multiply by 126%. Okay, so please multiply that, show your work, and get your two solutions. So your two solutions should have been $18 and $52.92. Okay, please turn the page. Example 4 is going to talk about our last idea of a percent of increase. When stores buy things, like Walmart for example, Walmart goes to China and buys iPods, let's say, for $60. So that's what they buy them for from China. But then when they put them on their shelves, they don't put them on their shelves and sell them for $60 because then they would not make any money. So what Walmart does is they apply what's called a markup. They take a product and they mark it up a certain percent. So let's just say that Walmart decides to mark up their iPods 50%. Since it's a markup, they are really multiplying by 150% because they want the whole $60, then they're going to add on another 50%. So when we multiply this, when you mark up $160, or I'm sorry, $60, 150%, you get $90. So Walmart puts it on their shelves for $90. They only bought it for $60. So do you see that they're going to make a $30 profit? That's how companies make money. So let's look at example 4. A store pays $56 for a GPS navigation system. The markup is 25%. Find the selling price. Okay, so if you go down here, we've got $56. We're going to mark it up 25%. So since it's a markup, we're putting a 1 in front of it. So when you multiply 56 times 1.25, you get $70. So the final selling price is $70. Now, as you can see, your textbook does it in a different way. They do the 25%, then they add it on. So please make sure that you have these notes over here. And pause the video and please do Got It question D. Okay, so you've already done this. So a store pays $150 for a portable basketball backboard, and the markup is 40%. What is the selling price? So we need to add 40% onto 150. So that means we are really multiplying by 140%. So when you do this, you get $210. Okay. Now this video you can go back and rewatch if you need help. But now that you're completed with the video, you guys are going to begin this assignment. On page 155, you're going to work on 1 through 9, 18 to 23, and 26 to 30.